Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, honourable members of the European Parliament, I am honoured and pleased to return to the European Parliament and to see so many familiar faces. To those members with whom I have not yet had the honour of becoming personally acquainted, I would like to say that my own experience is closely linked to Europe. I was born and raised behind the Iron Curtain in Soviet-occupied Latvia, and I would not have the opportunity to be here today at the European Parliament if Latvia had not regained its independence and if Europe had not reunified, thus restoring historical justice for many peoples and nations, including Latvia, and allowed us the possibility to rejoin to the family of European democracies. Now, this experience of my country, which intertwines with my personal life journey, has been the source of my motivation for my 20 years in politics. And this experience also forms the foundation of my European convictions. This was true when I led the government of the Republic of Latvia for nearly 5 years, when I served as the Minister of Finance, and when I worked as the member of the Latvian Parliament or the European Parliament. It was also my motivation for my 2 terms at the European Commission. It will be my great honour and responsibility to put to use my knowledge and extensive experience both in Latvia and in the institutions of the European Union to continue building a stronger and more united European Union.
Honourable members, I will continue in English. Today, the EU faces monumental challenges never seen before in its history. War has returned to our continent. Russia's brutal and illegal aggression against Ukraine threatens its freedom and very existence, as well as Europe's entire security architecture. It is evidence of deeper geopolitical power shifts that are reshaping the world as we know it. These shifts pose a risk to international rules-based order. At the same time, we face many other challenges. First, climate change, as we have seen most recently with dramatic flooding in Spain. Intensifying global competition for critical technologies is another. In this challenging environment, the EU needs a resilient, innovative and competitive economy. This will guarantee Europe's capacity to stand by its values and freedoms, withstand future shocks and preserve a cohesive society. Today, Europe's economy still suffers from many breaks that are holding us back. This is why President-elect von der Leyen identified sustainable prosperity and competitiveness as priorities for the next European Commission. This is why I'm honoured to appear in front of you today as Commissioner designate for Economy and Productivity and for Implementation and Simplification. There are various factors to address in our work to boost Europe's competitiveness and raise productivity. Investment, both public and private, is vital to support it. We also need to make it easier to set up and grow a business, help people to develop the right skills and cut bureaucracy. And we need to do it while further improving social fairness and cohesion. The recent reports by Enrico Letta, Mario Draghi and the Commission's Single Market and Competitiveness Report cover all these elements and more. Today, I would like to focus on 4 building blocks that would shape my work as a Commissioner if confirmed. Greater coherence when shaping economic policies and investment, sound fundamentals, less red tape, a strong European voice when shaping global economic policies. I will address each of these in turn. First, our economic policies should become more coherent. Reforms and investments carried out nationally as well as EU-wide should be better aligned with our common European objectives. Here, the European semester will play a key role. It will focus on promoting competitiveness, productivity, sustainability and social fairness. It will also continue to respond to country-specific challenges and situations. This will be my approach as I will work with the President to steer the European semester in the years ahead. The European semester will work in tandem with a new competitiveness coordination tool, whose development will be one of my priorities. The new tool will translate EU-wide competitiveness objectives into coordinated national policies. It will allow public and private funding to be guided towards these priorities in sync with a new European Competitiveness Fund. The Recovery and Resilience Facility have shown us the value of blending reforms and investments and linking them to EU funding. On the ground, the centerpiece of the Next Generation EU, the Recovery and Resilience Facility, is bringing change that boosts our competitiveness, such as cheaper and more secure energy, better skills for people, faster permitting, to name just a few. I will continue to support Member States in carrying out their national plans by the facility's 2026 deadline. Beyond the RRF, our investment needs are still massive. Private funding will have to cover the bulk of them. Public money will play an important role as well, including to ensure upwards social and territorial convergence. I will work with the European Investment Bank and the European Investment Fund so that they further strengthen their role in delivering EU policy objectives, particularly given the EIB's role as EU's bank and EIF's catalytic role for entrepreneurship, startups and SMEs. It is key for the EIB to prioritize investments in sectors critical to our economic security, such as clean tech, artificial intelligence, quantum, advanced semiconductors, and also to review its policy to support our defense capabilities. In addition, I expect the EIB to contribute even more to the EU's external strategic goals, for example, through additional support for Ukraine and the wider neighborhood and our global gateway strategy. I will also work with the EIB group to ensure that it takes more risks in its operations, especially when covered by EU guarantees. More broadly, I cannot stress enough the urgency of deepening and broadening our capital markets. Difficulties in access to financing is one of the key issues that prevent our companies from scaling up. The second building block is about ensuring that the EU economy has stable fundamentals. The EU new fiscal rules are tailored to new challenges and realities. They provide more flexibility for member states to determine their fiscal trajectory. They pay more attention to growth-enhancing reforms and investments focused on common EU priorities, social fairness, the green and digital transitions, and security, all this while ensuring fiscal sustainability. Stable and transparent public finances reinforce market confidence and reduce borrowing costs, both public and private. They provide fiscal space for public investments and create a conducive business environment to unlock private investment. Sound fiscal policies also protect the sustainability and adequacy of social welfare systems on which current and future generations rely. So, my priority will be to ensure that fiscal rules are used and enforced in a credible and even-handed way. I am glad that for this, of course, and for also much more, we can rely on independent, timely and reliable European statistics produced by Eurostat. On the third building block, today, administrative burden places a significant drag on our competitiveness. Every hour that an entrepreneur spends filling out forms is an hour lost for developing the business, for creating growth and jobs. Excessive red tape, whether it stems from European or national rules, has very sizable economic and social consequences. It holds back investment, dampens productivity, and reduces Europe's ability to attract foreign investments and talents. So it needs to change. We need simpler rules that are easier to implement. But I want to be very clear, simplification does not mean deregulation. We will not compromise our policy goals or our high social and environmental standards. It is a complex endeavour that will require the effort across the entire college, which I will coordinate, reporting directly to President von der Leyen. Each member of college will have responsibility for stress testing the existing rules in his or her area of responsibility. Here we will follow a user-centric approach by gathering and building on experiences from stakeholders who apply the EU rules on the ground, and we will report on progress to the Parliament and the Council in annual thematic reports. Our simplification efforts will start in the areas that Europe's people and businesses consider to be most urgent. We will build on the priorities identified in the recent reports, like the Draghi report, dialogues and stakeholder consultations, and we obviously want to listen to European Parliament as well. If confirmed, I will provide an outline of this work stream in the very first months in my mandate. Honourable members, for the EU law to achieve the intended objectives, above all, it must be properly implemented. The new implementation dialogues will show how best to align implementation with realities on the ground. We also intend giving more support to Member States' administrations and companies to help them comply with rules, allowing better enforcement. Simplification and better lawmaking must be a joint responsibility shared by all EU institutions. This is why the new Commission will reach out to the European Parliament and the Council on renewing the interinstitutional agreement on better lawmaking. While the Parliament and the Council already agreed to impact assess their significant amendments, this was never fully put into practice. We should discuss how to improve this. The European Commission has a long-standing commitment to better regulation. I will further strengthen this by making sure that the reinforced competitiveness check and SME test are applied consistently. Using digital technology more systematically also has great potential for reducing the administrative burden for people and companies, especially SMEs. In fact, the Commission has already presented several proposals that would help to achieve this, such as digital wallet and e-identity. Just this week, the ECOFIN Council agreed on updating the EU's EVAT rules to bring them into line with the digital age. The fourth and final building block centers around strong euro and making sure that the EU speaks with a strong and united voice at international economic fora such as the IMF and World Bank. It is even more vital as we are living in a more fragmented world. Today, the EU is a global leader, including at G7 and G20, in making sure that debt distress in developing countries is addressed, or, for example, in reforming capital markets to support transition to climate neutrality. On Ukraine specifically, the EU facilitated the recent G7 agreement to leverage the extraordinary revenues from immobilized Russian sovereign assets to provide support for Ukraine. Also, we need to further strengthen the international role of the single currency. I will continue to guide Member States towards joining the euro area based on the rules in force, and I will also work closely with co-legislators towards the swift adoption of the legislative proposals on digital euro and legal tender for cash. Honourable members, during the last 10 years as Vice President and then Executive Vice President of the European Commission, I have always worked in a spirit of collegiality and close cooperation with the European Parliament. If confirmed by this House, I will take real pleasure in continuing my cooperation with you. For me, working closely with the European Parliament is a self-evident and integral part of my work. And I come here regularly. During this mandate, I attended 60 meetings of parliamentary committees, and this is not counting plenary sessions, trilogues and other events. I will make sure that the Parliament is regularly updated on equal footing with the Council on the latest developments regarding the files under my portfolio, and that its opinions are duly taken into account. I will also fully respect the Parliament's rights and prerogatives in the legislative processes. If you honour me with your confidence, I will be happy to continue this fruitful relationship. Thank you very much.